Coming to you live from the shadow of the big house, it's IT4U. Tips and tricks on ITS tools, products, services, and more with your host, Gene Mackey. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to IT4U. I'm your host, Gene Mackey. These are interactive webinars brought to you by ITS, and we offer demos and tips. If you're having any audio or video problems during the live webinar, let us know in the chat pod. So if it's not on our end, we have some suggestions. Here's some links for mobile options for IT4U. And what we got coming up next month is I'm going to do a thing on formulas and business objects. I used to do a lot of stuff on business objects, and people have been asking for it. So there's a link to register in my link. If you do need an accommodation to participate in our webinars, just let us know. And this is the IT4U collaboration series, looking at Google, Box, C-Tools. And today, in response to your request, we have Ryan Viss doing Google Groups, and I'm going to turn it right over to Ryan.
Thank you, Gene, for the introduction, and thank you, everyone, for coming. Sorry, quick check here since I got out of position. Are we okay? I'm getting a thumbs up. Awesome. So my name is Ryan Viss. I am the service owner for Google Services here on campus. Many of you have seen me out and about, or maybe you've seen some of the gold-sleeved folks during the migration. We are also the support mechanism for any of the Google services you have on campus. So if you have any questions after today about groups or about any Google service, you can get a hold of us through 4Help, and we're more than happy to either answer your question over email. If we have a larger discussion, I'm more than happy to come out and talk with your group. But today we're going to talk about groups. And as we get started, there are two distinct services that Google has around groups. And I'm going to spend just a little bit of time up top here to talk about the difference between them, because it is important in how you use the services. They are confusingly named, so just bear with me. The two services are Groups, Google Groups, and then there is another service called Groups for Business. They are different services. They are unique, and they share a lot of functionality, but there is one important difference, is that Groups has all of the functionality of Groups for Business, except for one thing. You can't have group name at umich.edu. When you create a group in Google Groups, you get group name at googlegroups.com. Groups for Business is turned off here at the university. It is the service that's covered by our agreement, unfortunately, but it is disabled for a couple good reasons. We want to continue to maintain support for the group infrastructure we have in M-Community. Things like nested groups and the identity of the group name at UMich, we still handle that through M-Community. We don't have full support for that in Groups for Business. Most importantly, we're not able to maintain the privacy controls that we have in M-Community in Google Groups for Business. For those two reasons, we have disabled Groups for Business on campus. Even though it's turned off for general use, we still do benefit from some of the functionality in Groups for Business. Mainly, we synchronize the membership of M-Community groups to Groups for Business in the background. This is administrative. There is no action required on your part. If you create a new group, or if you had a group that existed before the migration, we are syncing that group membership to Google Groups for Business already. If you have a large group, sometimes synchronization can take a while, but generally if you make changes in M-Community, you'll see those changes in the Google Group for Business within a minute or two. When we sync M-Community groups to Google, we only sync internal members. So this, if you've ever created a group or maintained a group in M-Community, you see those two sections on the Members tab. We only sync the list and the internal members. If you have a group in M-Community with lots of external members, unfortunately, this is not going to help you out a whole lot. But if you have a large university community group, there is really no limit to the number of people we can synchronize to Google. I'm sure someone will find the limit someday, but we haven't seen it yet. So if you're trying to maintain that group in community, that will go forward. Why would you want to do that? Oh, sorry. Before we go along, so how do you know if your group is actually being synced? If you're looking at the main page on community and the bottom left of the web maintenance page in community, there's a status, for lack of a better term, here down at the bottom, and it says sent to Google UMISH. Normally, this will say yes. Occasionally, you may find a group that says no, and there are some cases where we don't synchronize the membership. If you are someone, for instance, who has a shared account in Google or Box, we do not synchronize the membership to Google Groups for Business because we have to maintain that in a different way. If you'd like more information about that, I'm happy to follow up. I'm not going to go down that path today. But why would you want to synchronize that? The big reason is permissions. You can use the group in Google Drive for docs and sheets and presentations, for instance. If you want to share something with a group of people and it's 150, 200 people and they all need to have access, your all staff list, for instance, is a good example. You don't have to enter all those people individually. You can have that one group name and share with it and give them all the same level of permission. You still can use the group in community for email distribution. The community group continues to work just as it did before. You just get some additional functionality. I'm going to jump out of my presentation here briefly, and I'm going to go to this demo document. Don't worry about the content. But I have a lot of groups that I'm a member of, and I want to share content with them on a frequent basis. This is just a regular Google Doc. I'm going to go up here to the top right and click the blue Share button. When you get that dialog box where you could enter just names, so I could easily start typing Jean's name and she shows up in autocomplete, and I could choose her and give her edit access like I have 1,000 times before. But maybe I want to share it with everybody in one of the groups that I work with. I can start typing ITSISO, CS, and there they are. So I know that that group has, I'm going to guess 8 to 12 members in it. By choosing that one name, and if I clicked send here, I would have given edit access to everyone in that group. The nice thing with that is as the group gets maintained in community, for instance, I know there's probably going to be an addition to this team shortly. When that new person gets added to the community group, they automatically get access to this document. I don't have to do anything different to give that person access. If someone were to leave the team or the community group, I also don't have to do anything to revoke their access. So this is a great way to maintain access to documents. I won't share this with them because they don't actually know I'm doing this today. Before I move on, any questions in the chat pod?
Good tip.
Okay, great. Again, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat pod. I will get flagged in the room here, and I'm more than happy to answer questions as we go along. Okay, so that's Groups for Business. That's the syncing functionality. But Google Groups, again, excuse me, same functionality in Groups for Business is present in Google Groups, the consumer service. But what is Google Groups? Essentially, Groups is an online or an email-based group, and you can organize that group around a single discussion. You could have a Q&A forum. You could do all kinds of things. It might be a project. It might be your tomato club. I don't know what it might be of interest, but you could do all kinds of things with this. There are different kinds of types of groups that you can create, and we'll go into some of those. But these are, for some folks, similar to the listservs that we used to maintain on campus. They're not identical. They don't function in quite the same way, but you get a lot of the same features that you had in the listservs. I want to stress, and I know I hit this again a little beforehand, but this is a consumer service. Groups is not covered by our agreement with Google. If you use them and if you have trouble, you can contact us and we can try to work with Google to help you, but it's unlikely we'll be able to get a support case to go through. In that case, searching from google.com on your issue is generally your best course of action. That said, Groups is pretty straightforward to use, and I haven't heard of a lot of issues. So why would you use Groups? Most people want Groups for the conversation archives. So as you have activity in your group, oh, sorry, I thought you were trying to flag me. Yes?
Let's see. So when we create an M community group, is a group for business automatically created, or do we need to contact for help to get the group created on the Google for Business side?
When you create an M community group, it is automatically created. You don't have to contact anybody. It's completely automated.
Yeah. Great.
Excuse me. So again, you could create this group around any kind of structure that makes sense, a region, a topic, an event. You get an archive of the conversation that happens, so there's the potential to have a web form, there's potential to have email. Groups also allow people to choose how they participate in the group. Some people really like participating in group conversations over email. They don't want to go to a web interface and participate on a forum with boxes and all kinds of stuff. They just want to hit reply and send something off and be done with it. Groups will let you do that. There are 4 basic types of groups. Again, this is just, you can have a straight email list. No web interface whatsoever. The only way to participate in it is through email. You could have a web forum only, so there would be no email sent out at all. People would have to come to the group to participate in it. You can have a Q&A forum. This is limiting the types of posts that go into your group to only questions and answers. This is generally helpful if you're using your group to support something, for instance. It's a Q&A kind of feature because it's Google. Of course, search is built right in, so with a Q&A forum, if you have questions and answers, it's a sort of knowledge base. For those of you on campus, I think knowledge, if you're capturing knowledge, there are better tools on campus for that. But if it's not work related, this is a way to do something like that. And you can also have a collaborative inbox. The collaborative inbox lets you have a place where you can accumulate messages to a group. You can then assign incoming posts as tasks to individuals. You can have moderators push those things around if you need to. It's really handy if you have a large group that's trying to support a volume of mail coming into a central location. Again, because this is a consumer service, you won't get that group name at umich.edu address. So to be honest, I really don't see a lot of usage of collaborative inbox on campus. But I did want to make you aware that the type is there. Mostly, the configuration we see is a web forum with email participation. This gives your group, the group members, 2 ways to participate in it. Most people will just choose their favorite one and continue to participate in that way. You also get that message archive. So as new people come and join the group, that history, that knowledge is still present in that Google group, and they can go back and read, or they can search through old topics and look for a solution to their question. We typically see some moderation on new groups, especially if you have large influxes of members joining. You can moderate new people's ability to post. You can moderate things that are being sent in via email. We also see some use of the visibility controls. So sometimes you want to have the group be public, but maybe not discoverable. We'll get into some of the configuration items here in a minute. We currently use it for the UM Collab Forum. So if any of you participate in the virtual space on the Collab Forum, that's a consumer Google group. If you would like to join the Collab Forum, you can go to google.umich.edu, and at the top you'll see a series of tabs, and the forum is one of those tabs. I believe it's the last one on the right.
And I have a link to that in my PowerPoint at the end.
Excellent. So the link is there, easy to find. One note on joining the Collab Forum, it is a public group, so anybody on the internet can find it and view the topics, but we only allow people to participate with their @umich.edu email addresses. So we would love you to come and join the conversation there, but you will have to use your university account to do so. So for the rest of the demo, or for the rest of the presentation, is going to be a demo. I'm going to jump into Google Groups and we're going to create one. I'm going to go over some of the best practices that we've used on creating our group. Yes?
Mary says, I have an M community group with an external member and currently shows that the group sent to Google UMich yes. Does that mean all members, including external member, is included?
No. So just to clarify, even if you see sent to Google UMich as yes, only internal members are being sent to Google. That's actually a technical limitation for us. We can't synchronize external members right now. But no, so even if you have a lot of external members and you see yes, those external members have not been synced to Google. All right. Excuse me. I'm going to go through a number of settings here as we configure a new group. Everything I talk about, specifically that I talk about during the demo, is going to be part of this presentation, and Gene will share that when we're done here. There are way more settings than I'm going to be able to cover here today. It is, just be warned, it's a little daunting the first time you go in there and look at some of the settings pages. For a vast majority of the settings, the defaults are going to be sufficient for your needs. But if you want to tweak the way the group functions, just letting you know, you probably could make the group work however you want it to work. And with that, I'm going to jump out, and I'm sorry. So to get started, how do you find Google Groups? If you're in Drive or Mail or many of the services that Google has, you're probably familiar with this grid of 9 squares that appears at the top. If you click that, you'll get your menu of services, and Groups is going to be one of the services in that main menu. You just click that and it's going to take you directly to the home page for your Google Group interface. For most of you, if you've never used Google Groups, you're probably going to see exactly what you see right now, minus the favorites. I just rolled mine up because I do participate in a number of groups. As you participate in groups, or if you create groups, you'll have the ability, this My Groups area will populate, and you can, this is kind of a quick way to find the groups that you participate in, bookmarks, for instance, for lack of a better term. But if you want to start a new one, it's as easy as clicking Create Group. And when you get to the first page here, some basic information. So we need a group name. We'll just call this the IT4U demo group. And you'll notice that it's automatically trying to fill in the group email address here in the second one. If it's not available, so if I go back, for instance, here, IT4U at Google Groups is not available. So it's flagging me already that that name is not available. You can leave the group name be whatever you want, but you may have to change the email address. So we could just make that IT4U demo. Those can be unique. I'm going to just leave that as demo because that's probably something I need to get rid of. Of course, the description is very important. It helps members orient themselves about what the purpose of the group is. It also is available via search. So if you want your group to be discoverable by people outside of the university, for instance, this might be a way to put in keywords that lets a Google search direct users to your group. This is just a demo. I just realized I can't type and talk at the same time. A lot of settings here. If you're, you can change the language if you want to, and then you can choose the group type. So this is probably the first important choice you're going to have to make. You can change these things in the future, but as you move forward, it becomes harder, right? Because you're changing the way the group functions. So it's a little important to be sure what you want the group to be. Generally, you want the group to be a web forum. You want to have a web interface for people to come to be able to search through the topics that have already been posted. Even with a web forum, like I talked about earlier, you will be able to participate via email. So I'm going to choose web forum for that one, and you'll see a small description down here in this box. And then we've got a bunch of other settings here for basic permissions. For right now, we're not going to change any of these things because we're going to go through the settings and tweak this to be just how we want it to be. So this looks good. I'm going to hit create. And you'll get a little CAPTCHA, of course, because they want to make sure that you're a human. Let's see if I get this right the first time. Maybe we should crowdsource this with everybody online. Hooray, I'm a human. And then I get a confirmation screen. And then you have a number of options. You can start inviting people, you can customize your settings, or you could just right away jump into a topic and start posting topics for people who are going to come later. I'm going to say OK and not click any of those links. And then you're going to see this top portion here. You'll notice that I created this off of my UMich account, not a personal Gmail account. Because I have a profile, a Google Plus profile, it's asking me how I want my group's profile to look to other people. If you choose to link it to your UMich profile, I would encourage you to do this, by the way, because it just simplifies your identity being the same across all of Google services. You cannot do this, but I would encourage you to choose the checkbox. This will link your group's profile to your UMich profile. That means your photo, your information, the directory information, for instance, will flow through to here. So if people want to find you or email you, especially if it's a university-based group, this makes it very easy to maintain your UMich identity in the group. You can choose to display your full name. You can give yourself a nickname, and then it will show you how you look. I'm going to click Save My Changes. And it takes a second because it's live, of course. Okay, I think my browser just did something. So we're going to click Home. We'll go back to My Groups. So then we'll see in My Groups, and here's my IT4U demo group. And you'll notice that it says next to my, or under this group, because I'm logged in, it's telling me that I'm an owner. You are able to add other people as owners, so you can have multiple people help manage the group. But let's get started and let's manage this group. Oh, never do things live. So how about those tigers?
So if I created an M community group and it's sent to Google, would I still have this option to go in and change the settings?
Nope. So again, I want to make that distinction between groups and groups for business. Everything we're looking at right now is just plain vanilla Google Groups. The synchronization and the permissions management is groups for business. You won't have this interface at all for groups for business. Okay. That really is just that autocomplete functionality that we saw. You're actually and for groups for business, you're actually maintaining the membership through M Community. You will never interact with Google Groups for Business through Google services. Well, I won't say never. You can't right now. Yeah. We continue to look at options and trying to make that work for everyone, and I don't know what's going on. Tell you what, I'm going to try managing. So there might be some kind of replication. I don't know what's going on, but we'll look at settings because the group settings interface looks the same for any other group. This is just a group I created with my unique name to kind of reserve it so no one can grab my unique name. But this is the general interface for managing a Google group. And I want to talk about a couple best practices here, things that make it nice to participate in a group. Most groups are going to have that email participation option. When people get email, it's really nice to let them find and filter those messages very quickly to know that it came from your group. It also kind of helps authenticate, small a, authenticate the message to the people who are participating. So to do that, I'm going to go down here and click the settings group, and it's going to roll open, and then there's an email options section. I'm going to choose that. And I have a small bunch of settings here. The important one here is the subject prefix, and you'll notice that it's kind of suggesting a couple things down here. A subject prefix, whatever you type in here, is going to be prepended to the subject line of a message that's sent to group participants. This makes it, especially for Gmail users, this makes it very, very easy to search for messages in their inbox and to filter them. I know because I participate in a number of groups, I have filters that grab based on the subject line, and the only thing I have to look for is the prefix from those groups. For most Google groups, the convention is to use brackets, square brackets, and then put in your prefix, and then close it with a square bracket. So for instance, this one I might, because it's my unique name, I'll put in the group name as my unique name. Again, another convention is to use the group name, the group email address of the group as the prefix. So that's going to show up in any email that's sent out. And then I'll do a colon. And then I'm going to use %D. And %D is a shortcut, and that's going to grab the subject of the post to the group and make that the subject line of the email. All right, and then I'm going to close the bracket. Sorry, nope, I did that wrong. Strike that. %D is going to grab the post number. It's going to correspond to the incremental post number on the forum. What's going to happen is after that, so if you imagine now you're looking at a subject line, what will happen after this is you'll see the subject of the post. So you'll always have Ryan Viss, colon, a number, and then title of the post.
What's the number? That just makes it easier to search, or what?
Yeah, if you're participating in a long conversation, it might stand out. It's just something nice to make it. It shows the unique, another unique thing to have in the subject line. Excuse me. You can also change how the footer looks to the email so that you can add content to the message that's being sent out. For instance, you can display how to unsubscribe from the group. You can display the URL so they can link directly back. There's a lot of options here. So I'm going to save this. And it's when it's kind of, it's not really grayed out because it's a blue button, but when it's like that, that means it's saved. The other option that most people want to look for is permissions. So I'm going to go down here to permissions, and I'm going to choose basic permissions. You can choose who can view topics, you can choose who can post topics, and you can choose who can join your group. By default, there are 3 options here. So there's managers, there's every member of the group, and then there's the public. And the public would mean anybody on the internet, even outside of the university. You're giving them permission to do whatever topic you're talking about here. Typically, if you want to keep your group private, start deselecting public. So this would be checked. If you clear it, that at least protects you from the internet at large. What you'll see on the settings deck next to here is it's going to show you the most permissive level that you've selected, so you can kind of scan through your list to see who's got the ability to do things in your group. Save that. And you can kind of see down here under the permissions section, there are lots of permissions that you can set. Moderation, for instance, you can choose whose messages get moderated. That will mean that you have to have moderators to go through anything that's put into a queue and approve or deny those things. Just make sure if you're doing that that somebody's actively monitoring those things. I'm sorry, I'm rushing here a little bit toward the end because we're running out of time. Access permission, I would generally, especially viewing membership or email addresses, you want to restrict that as much as possible, usually to the managers of your group. But if that's not something you're concerned about, then you can make that visible to all members of the group. So I kind of rushed here at the end. I will point out there is the ability to make custom groups, so you can create groups of people out of the members in your group, and you can give them permissions based on those custom roles. They call them roles, so you could give permissions based on a role. This is really handy if you have a large group. If you need to separate people into specific types of access, you can do that kind of stuff. If you want to invite people, oops, it's going to flag me because I didn't save something. You can just copy paste a whole bunch of addresses, give them an invitation, and folks can join. And with that, I think I need to be done. So I'm going to hand it back over to Jean.
Where I was, here I am. Thank you very much, Ryan. And let me get back to my PowerPoint here. So yeah, the M+ Google page, here's a link, and the collaboration forum that Ryan was referring to is one that you can post questions about Google Groups and other Google applications, and also see how the Google Group works. Reminder that this session and Ryan's presentation will be available on the IT4U page in my link, and also on the Next Gen Michigan public web page. If you're not on my announcement list, there's that. If you need help, you can always